My parents said you're the reason our lives fell apart. So I vanished without a word, and decades later they're working for my company. One small click means a lot. Subscribe and stay with us. And as always, we'd love to know where you're watching from. Leave it in the comments below. I was 22 when my mother looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're the reason our lives fell apart, Tessa. Everything was perfect before you existed." My father nodded, sipping his bourbon like she'd just commented on the weather. We stood in their pristine living room in Atlanta, the one I'd helped pay for with my college fund, surrounded by furniture I'd watched them buy with money meant for my tuition. "That's not," I started, but Mama cut me off. "Don't you dare defend yourself. You cost us everything. My career, your daddy's dreams, our youth. We were supposed to travel, build something. Instead, we got stuck with you." The words hit like physical blows. I'd driven 6 hours from my cramped studio apartment in Charlotte, juggling 2 jobs while finishing my degree online, just to surprise them for Thanksgiving. The turkey I'd brought sat forgotten on their marble countertop. Marble they'd installed last month while I ate ramen for dinner. "I never asked to be born," I whispered. Daddy finally spoke, his voice cold. "But you were. And you've been a burden ever since. Always needing something, always in the way. Your brother would have done something with his life if he wasn't constantly cleaning up your messes. My brother Dylan. Always golden, never wrong. 26 and still living in their basement, but somehow I was the failure." The room spun. 22 years of feeling like an inconvenience crystallized into one brutal truth. They'd never wanted me. The accusations kept coming, each one more vicious than the last. Mama paced their mahogany floors, her designer heels clicking with each step. "You know what the neighbors say? They ask why our daughter couldn't be more like the Johnsons' girl. Successful, put together, makes her parents proud." "I'm in my last semester of business school," I protested, voice cracking. "I'm on the dean's list." "At some no-name online program," Daddy interrupted. "Meanwhile, your brother went to Morehouse. Remember that?" "Oh wait, he dropped out sophomore year because he was so stressed about your drama." My drama. Dylan's drug habit that I'd covered for. His DUI that I'd helped pay legal fees for using my savings. His gambling debts that brought dangerous men to their doorstep. All somehow my fault because I'd been born at the wrong time and disrupted the family dynamic. "You were an accident," Mama said flatly, pouring herself wine. "I was on birth control. The doctor said it was 1 in a million. Lucky us, right? We had plans, Tessa. Real plans. I was supposed to start my own boutique. Your father was supposed to go back to school for his MBA. Why didn't you?" The question escaped before I could stop it. Her eyes flashed. "Because raising you took everything. Time, money, energy. Do you know what diapers cost? What childcare costs? What it's like watching your dreams die because some baby won't stop crying." Dylan emerged from the basement, eyes bloodshot, wearing a stained undershirt. At 26, he still looked boyish except for the hardness around his mouth. "What's all the noise?" He spotted me and sneered. "Oh, it's the prodigal daughter. Come back to disappoint everyone again." "I brought Thanksgiving dinner," I said quietly. "Nobody asked you to." He walked to the fridge, grabbing a beer. "You always do this, Tessa. Show up unannounced, acting like you're part of this family. You're not. You're the mistake that keeps on taking." Mama smiled at him warmly. "Baby, you want me to make you a plate? I picked up your favorite, fried chicken from Gladys's." My stomach churned. I'd driven 6 hours with a turkey. She bought him takeout. "Dylan, I helped you last month," I said. "That money for your car payment." "That's what you're supposed to do," he snapped. "You owe us. All of us. For existing, for sucking up resources, for being the anchor around our necks." He moved closer and I smelled whiskey on his breath. "You know what kills me?" You actually think you're better than us now with your little degree, your little apartment. You're nothing, Tessa. You'll always be nothing. The unwanted accident who ruined everything good about this family. Daddy raised his glass. Dylan, tone it down. Why? It's true. I could have been somebody. I had scouts looking at me for basketball. But no, I had to watch her after school because Mama was working extra shifts to afford her braces. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking. I'm going to show you something. My fingers found the banking app. This is my account. I've sent you both over $40,000 in the last 4 years. Daddy's truck payment when he forgot his wallet. Mama's credit card bills when she had an emergency. Dylan's legal fees, his debts, his. Mama snatched the phone from my hand. You're throwing your charity in our faces now? How Christian of you, Tessa. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. That money? That's back payment. You haven't even scratched the surface of what you owe us. I was a child. Children don't owe their parents for being born. Grateful ones do, Daddy said. You think those private school years were cheap? Those music lessons you begged for then quit? That laptop for college. I paid for my laptop. With money from my job at Target. Because we paid for everything else. Mama's voice reached a shrill pitch. The electricity you used, the water, the food. Every breath you took in our house cost us something. And this is the thanks we get? Attitude? Resentment. Dylan laughed. She's always been selfish. Remember when she forgot to pick up my prescription? I could have died. That prescription was for Xanax he was abusing. I'd refused to enable him. But in their narrative I was always the villain. You know what I realized? Mama set down her wine glass. We should have given you up. Excuse me. My voice barely worked. Adoption. Mama continued like discussing the weather. We had chances. 3 different families wanted you. One couple, they were doctors, wealthy, couldn't have kids. They would have given you everything. But we felt guilty. We thought we should keep you because it was the right thing. Biggest mistake of our lives. The room tilted. You considered giving me up? Until you were 2, Daddy added. The lawyer had papers drawn up twice. But Mama here, he gestured bitterly. She got soft. Thought it would look bad at church. Now look at us. Stuck with a daughter who thinks she's too good for her own family. I stood frozen, processing this revelation. They'd wanted to erase me multiple times. Had resented me for existing every single day. The Hendersons, Mama said wistfully. They sent Christmas cards for years hoping we'd change our minds. Beautiful home in Buckhead, vacation house in Martha's Vineyard. You could have had everything but we sacrificed for you instead. This life. She gestured around their expensive home, paid for largely by my loans they'd never repay. We could have had this 20 years ago without you draining us. Dylan lounged on the sectional. She doesn't even appreciate it. Never says thank you, never acknowledges what we gave up. Just shows up demanding appreciation for being mediocre. I graduated summa cum laude, I said numbly. From an online school, Mama dismissed. That's not real achievement. That's participation trophy energy. Something inside me shattered and reformed simultaneously. I looked at these 3 people, my supposed family, and saw strangers. Worse than strangers. Enemies who'd been bleeding me dry while convincing me I owed them my life. You're right, I said calmly. Everyone paused. I've been a burden. An unwanted accident who ruined your perfect lives. So let me fix that. Finally seeing sense? Daddy smirked. I'm going to make this simple for all of you. From this moment I don't exist to you. No calls, no texts, no emergency requests. No last-minute bills I need to cover. No guilt trips about family obligations. Mama laughed. You're cutting us off? With what money, Tessa? You're a broke college student playing grown-up. Watch me. I grabbed my purse, leaving the turkey. I hope it was worth it. I hope every luxury you bought with my money, every cruel word, every time you made me feel worthless, I hope it keeps you warm at night. Because you'll never see me again. Good. Dylan shouted as I walked to the door. We don't need you anyway. You're the one who'll come crawling back. You always do. I turned one last time. No. I really won't. Goodbye. You walk out that door, don't come back, Daddy warned. We won't be here when you fail. And you will fail. You're not strong enough to make it without family. I smiled, surprising myself. Then I guess I'll become strong enough. The door closed behind me with finality. I drove away from that house, that life, those people. And I never looked back. 5 years later, I stood in a Manhattan boardroom, 27 years old, and presenting my third successful tech startup to potential investors. The first 2 companies I'd built from scratch had sold for modest returns. Enough to fund this one. Technova Solutions specialized in AI-driven supply chain management, and we were revolutionizing the industry. Ms. Richardson, your projections seem ambitious, an investor noted, studying my presentation. They're conservative, I corrected. We've already secured contracts with 3 Fortune 500 companies. Our AI reduces shipping costs by 37% on average. By Q3 next year, we'll be operational in 12 states. That night was a blur of champagne and congratulations. My business partner, Janelle Morrison, a brilliant black woman I'd met at a networking event, pulled me aside. Girl, we did it. Series B funding secured. $15 million. I'd left Atlanta with $300, a used Honda, and unshakable determination. No goodbye to my parents. No forwarding address. I'd changed my phone number, deleted social media, vanished completely. Those first months were brutal. Sleeping in my car some nights, working 3 jobs while building my first business selling custom websites to small businesses. Every rejection fueled me. Every setback made me hungrier. We're hiring 50 new employees, Janelle continued. You seeing any position for that regional manager role in the Southeast? Actually, I am. Atlanta specifically. 3 years later, Technova had exploded. 800 employees. Offices in 12 cities. Valuation at $1.2 billion. At 30, I was one of the youngest black female CEOs in the tech industry. My face had been on Forbes' Essence Black Enterprise. But I kept my personal life private, my past buried. Ms. Richardson, we have the final candidates for the Atlanta custodial and administrative positions, my HR director, Patricia, informed me. Do you want to review them personally? I'll sit in on the interviews, I decided. Something had been pulling me toward reopening the Atlanta office expansion myself. Maybe closure. Maybe revenge. Maybe both. The first candidate entered, Dylan Richardson. 36 now, wearing an ill-fitting suit, resume listing a decade of odd jobs and unexplained gaps. He didn't recognize me. I'd changed my last name legally, wore my natural hair differently, carried myself with authority he'd never seen in the broken girl who'd left. Mr. Richardson, walk me through your experience, I said, voice neutral. He fumbled through responses, clearly desperate. I'm a hard worker, ma'am. Reliable. I just need a chance. Things have been difficult lately. Difficult how? Family issues. Financial troubles. But I'm ready to commit. This job, it would change everything for me. I made notes. We'll be in touch. 3 more interviews. Then Daddy walked in, applying for a warehouse position. 58, worn down, none of the arrogance I remembered. He still didn't recognize me. How could he? The terrified girl who'd fled was gone. In her place sat a woman who owned buildings, who employed hundreds, who'd built an empire from nothing. Mr. Richardson, I paused. Senior? Since we have another Richardson application. Yes, ma'am. That's my son actually. We're hoping to both get positions. Package deal if you will. He smiled hopefully. Tell me about your background. He detailed a string of failed ventures, jobs lost, opportunities missed. I had my own business once, logistics consulting. Never quite took off. Then the economy crashed and, well, I've been piecing things together since. But I'm 58, healthy, ready to work. I just need stability. Family support system? His face tightened. Wife and I were managing. She's applying for administrative positions here too. We heard Technova treats employees well. Good benefits. We need that right now. 3 days later, Mama sat across from me for an administrative assistant interview. 56, designer clothes gone, replaced by department store business wear. The vibrant woman who'd called me worthless looked diminished, tired. Mrs. Richardson, I see gaps in your employment history. I took time to raise my family, she said carefully. It seemed important then. Now I'm finding it hard to re-enter the workforce. But I'm organized, punctual, willing to learn. Your son and husband applied here too. Her eyes widened. Yes. We're hoping. It's been a difficult few years. This job would mean everything. I hired them all. Daddy and Dylan for warehouse positions. Mama for administrative support under Patricia's supervision. They started the following Monday, still oblivious to who really signed their paychecks. Your new hires are settling in, Janelle mentioned during our weekly check-in. Though that Richardson family seems tense. Like they're holding something together with duct tape and prayers. I'd been monitoring them from afar. Watching Dylan struggle with the physical labor he'd always been too good for. Daddy's pride crumbling under younger supervisors' orders. Mama filing paperwork, invisible and insignificant. 3 months in, I scheduled their performance reviews. All together in my office. When they entered and saw me behind the desk, the recognition happened in stages. Confusion first. Then disbelief. Finally horror. Hello, I said calmly. I'm Tessa Richardson Foster, CEO and founder of Technova Solutions. And yes, before you ask, I'm her. The accident. The burden. The mistake who ruined your lives. Dylan dropped into a chair. Mama's hand flew to her mouth. Daddy stood frozen, his face draining of color. This isn't possible, Mama whispered. You're that Tessa Richardson? The one in Forbes? We read about you, we just never imagined the worthless daughter you threw away could build something you'd recognize? I understand. I was invisible to you then. Just a paycheck to bleed dry. I leaned back. How does it feel being on the other side? Tessa baby, Daddy started. It's Ms. Richardson Foster in this office. Your employee's here. I'm your employer. Let's maintain professionalism. I opened their files. Your performance has been adequate. Dylan, your attendance is concerning. 4 late arrivals this month. Daddy. Sorry, Mr. Richardson Sr. You've had conflicts with supervisors about following protocols. And Mrs. Richardson, your filing accuracy needs improvement. You brought us here to humiliate us, Mama said, tears forming. No. I hired you because you needed jobs and you were qualified enough for the positions. What you do with this opportunity is your choice. But understand something clearly. You don't get to rewrite history. You don't get to pretend you were loving parents who simply had a difficult daughter. Dylan found his voice. We were wrong. Tessa, we were so wrong. We said terrible things. You said I ruined your lives. That I should have been given up for adoption. That every breath I took cost you something you'd never recover. You took $40,000 from me while I ate ramen and wore thrift store clothes. You blamed me for Dylan's addiction, Daddy's failures, Mama's lost dreams. My voice stayed level. Those weren't just words. That was systematic emotional abuse designed to make me believe I deserved nothing. We were struggling, Daddy interjected. Financially, emotionally. We took it out on you and that was wrong, but... There's no but. You had choices. You chose cruelty. Silence filled my office. Outside, Atlantis sprawled beneath us. The city I'd fled from now beneath my feet in a building I owned. I could fire you, I said finally. Would be poetic, wouldn't it? You threw me away, now I throw you away. But I'm not you. I don't believe in destroying people for existing, for needing support, for being imperfect. I slid 3 envelopes across the desk. These are your new employment contracts. Raises, actually. Benefits packages that include therapy coverage because God knows you all need it. Mama reached for her envelope with shaking hands. Why? Because someone has to break the cycle. Because I'm successful not despite you, but because of what you taught me, that I couldn't rely on anyone but myself. That I had to be stronger than anyone imagined possible. You forged me in cruelty and I came out steel. I stood. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't forgiveness. This is me being a better human than you taught me to be. You work here, you earn your salaries, you stay out of my personal life. We're not family. You're employees. That's all you'll ever be. Dylan spoke up, voice breaking. Is there any chance, any way we could earn back what you destroyed? Well, you can't unbake a cake, Dylan. You can't unspeak words that carved wounds into a child's soul. You can't give back the years I spent believing I was worthless. I moved to the window. But you can show up, do your jobs, rebuild your lives with dignity. That's more than you gave me. 2 years later, Technova went public. Valuation hit $3 billion. I rang the opening bell at NASDAQ with Janelle beside me, both of us crying happy tears. The girl who'd been called worthless now employed over 2,000 people. Mama, Daddy, and Dylan still worked for me. We passed in hallways sometimes, them nodding respectfully, me acknowledging them with the same courtesy I showed all employees. They'd stuck to the boundaries. No attempts to leverage our connection. No public claims of being my family. They worked, collected paychecks, stayed invisible. I'd heard through HR gossip that they'd all started therapy. That Dylan had gotten sober. That my parents had filed for divorce but remained civil. That they'd downsized to a modest apartment and were slowly paying off decades of debt. Good for them. I built my real family elsewhere. Janelle became the sister I'd never had. My mentor, Dr. Patricia Hayes, the mother figure who actually celebrated my victories. My husband, David Foster, who I met at a tech conference and who loved me without conditions. Our daughter, Maya, who'd never question if she was wanted. Sometimes I wondered if my parents understood the gift they'd given me through their rejection. They'd freed me from the obligation of loving people who'd never deserved it. They taught me that blood doesn't equal family, that worth is built, not inherited. The girl who vanished without a word had become a woman who spoke volumes through her success. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. Not their suffering, but my absolute, undeniable, unstoppable thriving.